the HOD, to start the proceedings.
Thank you, Dr. Venkat. It is a proud privilege and honor, and I would like to, on the behalf of the Department of Surgery and the management of Sagar Hospital, place on record our deepest sense of gratitude for giving us this opportunity to host the monthly clinical meeting for July. So the plan is like this. The OSCEs have become a integral part of the examinations now, especially in the era of the COVID, where virtual exams are becoming more, mandatory almost. So what we thought was to give people a flavor of what OSCEs are about. So Dr. Lakshman is going to give a brief, introduction and sort of knowledge about what OSCEs are, and then we have successive questions which will continue till about maybe 4:55, when we can stop, and then 5:55, and then we can continue with the poster presentation, which will be about half an hour. We have six posters, after which we will go for the oral presentation, the paper presentation, which will be starting at 6:30 p.m. If everything goes well. So without much ado, I request Dr. Lakshman to kindly address the students about the need for OSCE and what OSCEs are about. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ravishankar sir, I have a doubt here.
Yeah.
Is it for 45 minutes or 1 hour?
So we what we'll do is we'll go up to for 5:50 or 5:55, where we can stop at a particular level where you think we should stop, and then maybe we can then give a 2-3 minute gap and then start the this one, the poster presentation.
Yeah, it is
Okay,
it is
then the
built it is
posters will
built
have
for one
only.
hour. It's built for 1 hour. So
Okay,
posters are supposed to start at 6. So we may
okay,
stop
6 to.
2-3 minutes before that and start the poster sharp at 6. Good
Okay,
evening,
makes
ladies
sense.
and gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Ravi Shankar, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Venkat, for giving Sagar the opportunity for hosting this month's meeting. Objective Structured Clinical Examination, or OSCE, is going to be the order of the day very soon. DNB has already adopted it, and I don't think it will be long before the MS examination will also have it as a standard. I know that some centers have held OSCEs even in the MS examination, so it becomes important for postgraduates to make themselves familiar with the pattern of OSCEs. OSCEs, I believe, are really very good, and they stand up to the billing that they have, namely that it is objective and structured, and it takes away one of the uncertainties, or the, shall we say, uh, without offending anybody, it will take away the subjectivity that may creep in because of the attitudes or the beliefs of examiners. So what happens is that the same clinical examination that you do, the questions that are there are all preset, and it is set by examiners, and it takes a lot of time to actually set it. It's more work for the examiners rather than the students. And if the student knows the answer, it is nearly like mathematics, so he can just write whatever he needs to know, and there will be 4 or 5 questions asked on each stem or each main question, and if you get them right, you get your marks, and if you don't know, of course, you lose the marks. The slight disadvantage there is, if you completely miss the diagnosis in the first go, then you may get negative, not negative marks, but you may not score marks in the subsequent sections. But examiners are careful to make sure that you will have no ambiguous questions, and so you need not be nervous about it. The second important thing is that the OSCEs are supposed to test what is called HOTS, the higher order thinking skills, which means that it is never something that you learn by rote. You are given a clinical situation which you will face as a surgeon when you're trained, and when you pass your exam and you're certified to be a surgeon. Most questions, in fact all of them, will be things that you face in your daily practice, and so if you get them right, it means that you are competent to be a consultant surgeon. And the final issue there is that it also tests your overall demeanor, the overall factor, because it will ask you questions on, you know, communication, ask you questions not just on surgical topics, on communication, on informed consent, and you know, medical legal issues, ethics, and things like that, so that it honestly, I believe, will prepare you to be a comprehensive and a complete surgeon. So this is, you know, we can have a whole hour of discussion on OSCE, but that's not the idea of this session. I will stop here. If you have questions, you're welcome to ask me or Ravi Shankar or Niranjan. We'll be happy to answer the questions, not only on the topics, on the questions you're being asked, but on OSCE per se. You know, if you have questions on OSCE and how it is done, we'll be happy to take those questions. And I now hand you over back to Ravi Shankar to conduct the OSCE questions. Ravi, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. See, for students, I'll just tell you, we and Dr. Shivaram, and I think Dr. Lakshman also, we attended the last exam of the DNB, which was held in last year as examiners. And the OSCE pattern is like this. They usually have a central, you know, the control room from which the OSCEs are given to all the students all over the country. And the questions are projected. Everybody will be sitting. They will be given the answer papers, and the first question will come up. And there are usually 25 questions. Each question will be for 5 minutes. So because you get fatigued looking at the screen all the time, so they usually give you a break after about 8 questions. So you will have 3 breaks of 5 minutes each between this. I don't know about the MS exams. This is how the OSCEs were conducted, even the Royal College and also in the DNB exams. So what happens is they put up a slide. So you are supposed to carefully look at the slide, what it is asking you. So you have to find out exactly the precise nature of the question and then answer it properly. And if you don't get the answer, you don't worry, because the next question will be something that you will know. So you don't have to worry about it. Each question will be different. So you don't have to, you know, panic or worry about it. So we will give you, and based on what we had seen that day, and we conducted OSCEs for our students recently. So I am just, you know, these questions are exactly similar to that. So I'm sure all of you will be able to answer this very well. What I would prefer to do is, you know, students from other institutions other than Sagar, kindly volunteer to answer these questions so that it will be better. So with this, I will start the OSCE. So
Ravi, can you nominate 2 PGs, because you never know whether they'll raise their hands or not. Just get 2 people to be answering your questions, please.
So I don't know who is there.
You see the participant list. Nivedita Reddy, are you a student? Are you a PG?
Yes, sir. I'm a PG.
Okay, unmute yourself. You will be one of them. Prashant Sai. Prashant Sai, are you a PG?
There is
Hello?
someone like Ritika Jha.
Okay.
I think.
Sorry?
Prashant is not available.
Yeah.
Ritika Jha.
Right, Ritika. Ritika, can you unmute yourself? The 2 of you. That is, what are the 2 names? Nivedita and Ritika. 2 of you, please take the questions. Please, Ravi, please carry on.
Yeah. Okay, you can see the the projected CT scan in the thing. So this is the patient, 69-year-old lady, presented with intermittent abdominal pain in the lower abdomen and distension for the last 3 months with constipation. The clinical examination was essentially normal. So Nivedita, would you please say what are the investigations you would ask in this patient?
Just a minute, sir. Intermittent. Sir, initially on first we'll check the vitals of the patient, sir, when the patient comes, and for coming to the investigations, once the patient is stable, we can get an erect X-ray abdomen and a chest X-ray, sir.
Not an emergency. This is a patient who has come to you in the clinic. So this is not an emergency. So don't worry.
Ravi, would they be given options, or they should select from the list given there?
No, they will not be given the options. The best investigations to be, to be ordered in this situation?
They are consultants sitting in the clinic. A patient comes with this history with no significant clinical examination. What would they do next is all we are asking for.
Right, Nivedita, carry on.
Yes, sir. Then we'll go in for a CECT abdomen, sir. Since it's
Don't you
3 months.
want to do any routine investigations?
So routine erect X-ray abdomen and chest X-ray along with the blood investigations, following which we can go in for a CECT abdomen.
So what is the order in which you ask these investigations, Nivedita? Would you ask for a CT first or blood reports first?
Blood reports first, sir.
All right. What are you looking for in this? What are
RFT, everything will have to be checked. And if it is normal, then we can.
Nivedita, please don't
sir.
say everything has to be checked. What are the tests that you will write sitting as a consultant in the clinic? This is the crux of OSCE. Okay,
Yes.
you are sitting in the clinic, you are writing some orders. What is the basis for that order is all we are trying to ask. So you would ask for a CBC. What else would you
CBC.
ask for? Okay.
CBC, RFT,
Yeah.
and LFT.
Okay.
I think serum electrolytes, sir.
Right. What are you looking for in electrolytes?
In electrolytes, since she has abdominal distension and constipation, any electrolyte abnormalities
Yeah.
can be there. So,
Okay. All right. What would you ask next?
But the complaints are for 3 months.
actually unlikely, sir. Actually, I think
Yeah.
CBC, LFT, and RFT will suffice.
All right.
Based on that, based on the reports of that, I'll move forward to a USG abdomen, sir.
Okay.
And after USG, if based on the findings, can go ahead for
What are the things you are likely to see in the ultrasound scan? What will it contribute to your clinical?
in an
assessment?
ultrasound scan, the bowel peristalsis can be seen, sir. If there is any obstruction, I mean, any growth.
See, the thing is, Nivedita, usually bowel is the last thing that you would actually comment on in ultrasound scan, because usually the bowel gas will preclude any proper visualization of, unless there is a mass that is there. But that mass probably would have been palpable when you did a clinical examination. We have actually clearly indicated there is no palpable examination, findings in the clinical examination. So ultrasound, there are certain things which you can pick up on ultrasound. What are those things? Okay, I think, is Ritika be able to say a few things about ultrasound of the abdomen in this situation? Ritika? Or anybody else, please, if there is anybody who wants to nominate themselves, this is for your benefit, please, volunteer and answer the questions. Is Ritika there? Okay, Nivedita, continue. See, what you would really
Yes, sir.
like to see.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Tell me, Ritika. What would
Sir,
you...
voice is breaking, sir, and video is also not. Sir, I can't.
Okay,
Sir.
I think log in again. We'll ask you the next thing.
Yes, sir.
Nivedita, continue.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So ultrasound scan, I think
Yes.
the main thing is look at the liver, the gallbladder. Though gallbladder is not the contributing thing, but basically what you're seeing is looking at the liver. Maybe it will pick up presence of ascites, presence of lymph nodes in the retroperitoneum. There may be, the good ultrasonologists will be able to pick up bowel wall thickening, and because this is a female, they will also be able to say about the status of the uterus and the ovaries and things like that. So, and the kidneys. So these are the things on ultrasound that you can pick up. Bowel, unless there is a mass that is, which is very obvious, and ultrasound will not be able to say it. Okay, then let's move on to the CECT. So what are the things? This is a CECT picture. Can you please comment on this? What are the things you are seeing in this? It's a very classical picture. Anybody
Part
else?
of what I'm seeing. What is this? What view?
Yeah.
Nivedita, are
Ajit,
you there?
Nivedita
Hello,
cannot.
sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, please.
Mine was not working. Sorry, sir. It was not working for a moment. So,
Yeah.
this is abdominal CT, transverse cut. I'm not able to make out whether it's a contrast in a oral contrast
see
is
oral
there.
contrast.
Oral contrast is there. IV contrast, I'm not able to make out, sir. I'm not able to see the.
IV contrast is
vessel.
not given.
Is not given, and
Axial cuts.
It's
Okay,
called
continue.
axial cut. Okay. What is the main thing that you can see?
What are the structures you are seeing there in the CT?
a
Where you see
dilated
the
bowel is there, sir.
dilated bowel? What bowel?
A large bowel
Correct.
Correct.
So what are
Which
with
side is it?
thickening of the wall.
Yes.
Which side is it? Which part of large bowel? Most likely.
Ascending colon, sir. Ascending part.
Correct.
Cecum and ascending colon. Correct.
Colon.
So what is happening there? I'm giving you a clue. You can see there is a semilunar.
What do you think
is that?
the thickening is due to? You're right that it's a very thick wall. What do you think the thickening is due to? Just concentrate on the thickness and see if you see a pattern to it.
Is there something going on there?
It can growth.
Yeah, growth will,
Circumferential,
yeah, it cannot be
like
that, yeah, that shape and that big. It
Yeah.
will probably be like a filling defect. Can you see any special features of the thickening? Is it all of uniform density or is there something different?
there is hypo is
Yeah.
I mean hypo intense.
Echoic you won't get in
Hypo intense.
ultrasound.
Hypo intense.
Echo is in
Density.
ultrasound. In
Sorry,
CT it will
Convex.
be density,
Density.
density or
Density.
Hounslow units. Yeah. Okay. So there is in
There
the
is-
thickening in the middle. There is another, hypo dense
intense.
kind of layer. Yeah.
Yes.
Heterogeneous.
Yeah. And so what happens if you have something which is intense on the outside, something which is less intense in the middle, and then another intense layer. So why do you have
Interception, sir.
Good.
Yeah, correct.
these are layers, one inside another.
Yes.
So what is the most common cause for interception in this lady, do you think? What is
69-year-olds, 69-year-old, most likely a growth, malignant growth will be the most common cause, sir.
Correct. What will that be in a child, let us say?
In a child, it will be because of ileal Peyer's patches hypertrophy, which causes interception, sir.
Correct.
Yeah. But
So,
going back to the CT, Nivedita,
Yes,
even
sir.
though you have an obvious lesion like that and you give a diagnosis, you must also read the other possibilities. With that in mind,
Yes, sir.
what are the other important positive and negative things that you would report in this particular CT, in this particular slice? So you're thinking adult interception and neoplasm. So automatically, what else would you be looking for?
Where exactly the growth is present, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned the ascending colon and we'll buy that. What else are you looking for? When there's a neoplasm in the bowel, what are the other things that you look for?
The lymph
Straightforward.
node,
Yes,
lymph-
so you must
Yes.
comment on possible lymph nodes. Do you see any
lymph
lymph
node,
nodes there?
ascites.
Yes,
liver
exactly.
mets.
So do you think you see ascites here?
Yes, sir.
Where?
There is
No, not really. You don't
There
have
is no
ascites in
ascites,
this.
but lymph nodes are there.
Very small lymph
lymph
nodes are there.
node present.
And
What-
there is
what
one
is
more
in
lesion.
aorta?
Yeah, unrelated to the lesion. Yeah, Ravi has asked you. Do you have any comments to make on the aorta?
That white speck, something you're seeing there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What is that?
Calcification.
Yeah.
Correct.
So your reporting of a picture like this must be comprehensive.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So you
Okay,
must you must know where it is. You must know describe the lesion and say what the most likely diagnosis is, and then all the associated features and incidental findings like calcification of aorta. All this must be reported.
Okay, so what?
Regarding those two, structures which we spoke about as lymph nodes, is that the third part of duodenum and in front of it the vasculature?
No, they're all small lymph nodes that are there.
Okay.
Which, and the duodenum is, I don't have a pointer because Ravi is carrying. Then they're little, you can see next to
Horizontal.
the spine there is a bit of contrast enhanced bubble. That is duodenum.
Yes. So is that the superior mesenteric vessels there in front of it?
Unlikely. I think it would be a little more
Pancreas-
central in position. It will be a little more central in position. They like to be very small but insignificant lymph nodes. Yes, the differential is definitely the superior mesenteric vessels. Yeah.
So the Nivedita, the importance of the picking up the calcification is that you will have to be careful because you need to, when there is calcification aorta, you can also have ischemic heart disease, you can have cerebrovascular accidents and all these things. You have to be careful because in the post perioperative period, all these things become very important. So evaluation of the patient has to be more, you have to be more careful about that. So let us come to the answers. So as you said, complete blood count, RBS, creatinine, liver functions, ultrasound, and CT abdomen, and colonoscopy. Why do you want to do a colonoscopy?
To look at the look for the exact location of the lesion and take a biopsy also.
Correct. Okay. So you may be able to pick up, we presume that it may be malignancy. It could be other pathology also. So you want to see what is the mucosal aspect of this. And I think you can also reduce the intussusception by doing a colonoscopy. So colonoscopy has dual benefits. You will be able to reduce the intussusception and also we will be able to get the pathology and the histopathology also. And so what would you do for a patient like this? Patient possibly has a cecal carcinoma. You work the patient up. What will you do?
After knowing the exact stage of the disease, sir, after staging the disease, after metastatic workup, we can think of the surgical act.
Yeah, already CT scan is done. What more metastatic workup would you need? The liver would have been checked in already.
Yes,
You
sir.
would like to ask for contrast films. Images.
Contrast enhanced film, sir, along with CT thorax also.
Why CT thorax in this case?
To look for the mets, sir.
Metastasis first go to the liver. If there are liver metastasis in your current CT scan, then you can ask for lung cuts.
Okay, sir.
If you are looking for COVID signs, that is different.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what surgery would you do?
Extended right hemicolectomy.
The answer is already there. So
It's
at least
Why extended right hemicolectomy in this case? If the disease is in the cecum,
the superior extent can be till the right hepatic flexure, sir. So that time an
that is what
extended.
this looked like. There is an extension to the hepatic flexure. That is where you need an extended right hemicolectomy.
okay.
What do you mean by extended right hemicolectomy?
Nivedita,
Yes, sir.
you're doing well. Come on.
What is the difference between regular right hemicolectomy and extended right hemicolectomy?
In regular hemicolectomy, the transverse colon, only the lateral one third part of it is removed along with the ascending colon
Not
and
lateral. There is nothing like lateral or right
lateral.
1/3.
Right lateral, sir. Sorry.
Right 1/3.
Right lateral along with the
Right 1/3 only. Right 1/3, left 1/3. Right off, left off. Okay.
Yes, sir. Right
Transverse
1/3
colon is an
along with the
horizontal structure. Yeah.
yes, sir. Right 1/3 along with the ascending colon, and the distal 10 centimeters of ileum is removed in regular hemicolectomy, sir. In
Rather
extended
than
one,
10 centimeter, it is usually we say it as around 6 inches.
okay, sir.
6
Okay.
inches because of the fixity of the ileum to the retroperitoneum.
Okay, sir. And in extended right hemicolectomy, the right 2/3 part of it is removed along with the ascending colon and distal ileum, sir.
So what are the vessels you ligate when you do an extended right?
The middle colic the middle colic vessel is also ligated in extended right hemicolectomy along with the Ileocolic, right colic, vessel, sir.
Would you spare the left branch of the middle colic?
In extended, it is ligated, sir. In just right colectomy, it is spared, sir.
Correct. Okay.
Because you have
Well
to
done.
remove the root of the lymph nodes from the middle colic artery also
Yes, sir.
in extended.
Right. Yeah.
Ravi,
Okay.
we may have to spend less time on each question.
Yeah. Yeah.
because-
So well done. Well done.
One
We'll
thing,
move-
what if this patient was unfit for surgery? What if that patient was unfit for surgery? Obstruction is there, he is vomiting.
Then I will have to go for an ileostomy, sir.
Yes. These are the lesions near the hepatic flexure, not long segment lesions, not easy to stent. Left colon disease, sigmoid colon disease, you can think of stenting in case of obstruction.
Yes, sir.
Long segment, difficult.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Well done, Nivedita. So
Okay,
this
sir.
is
Very
how OSCEs are done. Well done. Who, sir? Can you nominate two people who are there, sir?
Yeah, Akhil, are you a PG? If I call out the name of a staff,
Mayank.
please don't misunderstand me. Avinash, are you there? Avinash, Sangeeta.
I can see some HODs, Dr. Sheshagiri Rao, they can
Yeah, yeah,
nominate
yeah.
it. Their own PGs.
No, Avinash, are you there?
Mayank,
Mayank.
Mayank.
Please volunteer.
Nobody is volunteering.
Ritika was waiting.
Yeah,
Please
Mayank,
volunteer
Mayank.
because you are on the, nobody
Okay.
is actually.
Ravi, Mayank has volunteered.
Yeah.
Please. ask.
Mayank. Okay, so this is a 62-year-old male who underwent a diagnostic thoracoscopy for effusion in the patient with the dyspnea, no symptoms of cough, fever, or wheeze. The picture below shows a thoracoscopic view, and effusion was there and it was aspirated. Kindly describe the thoracoscopic findings.
So there's inflamed tissue along with
Yeah, please.
this is inflamed tissue, erythema, along with probable empyema or pus-like connection, sir.
Okay. What else do you see?
There's a lot of adhesions, probably within the pleural space.
Yes,
Do they
additions
look
are
like
there.
pus or something else?
So I'm not able to exactly see. So it looks more like caseous material, sir, probably.
Can you not see plaques on the pleural surface?
Both the
Right, sir. Sir.
So what are the possibilities? What are the likely possibilities of this in this patient?
So first one I'd like to think of is tuberculosis, sir.
Okay.
Um,
More importantly,
How in tuberculosis, how small the plaques will be? Is it like classical TB there, what you can see? Tubercles, you see tubercles, they invariably
it
will
will be smaller.
smaller.
be much smaller than this.
Yes, sir.
So what is this more likely to be, Mayank?
Could be empythoracic probably due to a bacterial cause, other than tuberculosis.
Okay. All right. Give us a differential diagnosis, Mayank. Be specific about those questions. In OSCE, there'll be nobody asking you all these questions, so we'll keep it short and give specific answers. Okay. Your first diagnosis is that it's tuberculosis. All right. What is your differential diagnosis?
Differential.
Hydatid.
Mayank, if I come in, please read.
Yeah, please.
No symptoms of cough or fever or wheeze, meaning to say you can't give infective diagnosis in this patient. It's the parietal pleura which is thickened and showing white patches, which are pleural plaques. Then comes the question is, it's a pleural disease. What are the pleural diseases that you are thinking in terms of?
Could be Mariner's issue.
Exactly. What's your first diagnosis with pleural diffuse pleural thickening with pleural plaques?
Mesothelioma.
Correct. Yeah. What is the other possibility, other malignancy? Metastasis from any other primary. When you see a pleural effusion, let me finish this question. When you see a pleural effusion with undiagnosed malignancy, large
Yes, sir.
majority, the primary will be in the lung itself.
Right, sir.
Of course, it could be from the colon or kidney or from the breast or anything else, but large majority, say 60 to 70% of them, primary will be within the collapsed lung.
All right, sir.
You need to get the points: pleural thickening, pleural plaques, possibility of a pleural malignancy, mesothelioma.
Right,
Right.
Mayank, what will you do next to get a definitive diagnosis?
So I would take a tissue biopsy from here, sir.
Okay,
Plus, it is effusion ordered shared for culture. Looking at the inflamed the pleura, they'll have to probably have to remove the remove the tissue, sir. How much ever I can, or decortication.
You are right. There are various surgical options in mesothelioma. The best well accepted as of now is pleurectomy decortication. Remove the disease to the as much possible extent as possible. There was another operation earlier, extensive pleuropneumonectomy, meaning remove the entire pleura, the entire lung, diaphragm, pericardium, reconstruct the pericardium, diaphragm, and then go for chemoradiotherapy. That is not practiced as of today. It is pleurectomy, decortication, combined with pre and post-op chemotherapy and radiotherapy.
All right,
But will you do it in the same setting, or you send it for tissue biopsy and then read
No,
it
no, no.
after?
You just do a diagnosis, multiple pleural biopsies, get a diagnosis, whether it is sarcomatoid or epithelioid mesothelioma, and then do a neoadjuvant chemotherapy, then come for surgery, then come for adjuvant chemoradiotherapy.
okay, so the answers are there. So shaggy flat plaques on both parietal and basal surface, hyperemia of the pleura, mesothelioma, as we said, pleural fluid for proteins, differential count, ADA, and malignant, and pleural biopsy. And what Rajshekhar said, I think is, thank you, Rajshekhar, for the up-to-date, management of mesothelioma. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Another person to volunteer, please.
Question 3.
Question 3. Who is going to volunteer? Ishika, are you there?
Surgical Society.
Sir, anybody else who is there? I can't see the participants.
Ritika, are you there or have you left?
Yes, sir, I'm there, sir.
Okay, go on. Take the question.
Take
Ravi,
the question.
please. Yeah.
Yeah. Ritika,
Yes, sir.
58-year-old gentleman presented with history of painful lesion in the tongue for 2 months. The following is a picture. What is the most likely diagnosis? What do you think is going on? Describe the lesion and what is the diagnosis?
Sir, erythematous ulcerated lesion, sir.
Correct? On the?
On the lateral aspect of tongue, sir.
Yeah. What's the likely diagnosis?
What is the commonest in the tongue?
Commonest
ulcer?
diagnosis on that?
And that's in a 58-year-old.
Malignancy, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What malignancy? What is it called?
What type of malignancy? Most likely.
Sir,
Correct. Come on.
carcinoma of the tongue, sir.
Correct. What are the salient points in history that you would like to take? What are the things?
Is any history of tobacco or sir, all those things, pan
5
masala.
years. Yeah, 5 yeses. What
Yes,
are
sir.
the 5 yeses? Yeah, tell us. Smoking,
Smoking.
spirit.
Yes, sir. Any injury history is there? Dentures or anything if he is using?
Yeah. And then?
Called a sharp tooth.
Sharp tooth. And then what are the pre-malignant lesions that you will ask for?
So white, red plaques.
What are they called?
Leukoplakia, sir.
Leukoplakia and
Erythroplakia.
correct,
sir.
correct. You know
Yes.
that. So you just say it. Okay. So how will you investigate this patient? Quickly.
So
We can't waste-
biopsy, we should take one biopsy from that
So where,
side.
where do you take the biopsy from?
Sir, at the lateral aspect of tongue, we should take biopsy, sir.
The disease is on the lateral aspect of the tongue itself.
So where do you take the
would you
biopsy?
plan the biopsy?
Will you take it from the center? Will you take it from the edge?
Sir, edge, sir.
Why edge?
Sir, because if center is involved in some infection, sir, I don't know, sir.
Usually you will have necrosis maybe in the center.
Yes,
So
sir.
the rolled up edges, you will also have the interface between the normal tissue and the malignant tissue. So the pathologist will have a good comparison to say, even if this is a obvious lesion, but sometimes the lesions can be early. So if you take biopsy from the edge, then you will have better histologic, answer for the question. Okay,
Yes.
what other investigations would you like to do?
Sir,
Apart from the biopsy that you already talked about,
yes, sir.
would you like to stage this disease?
Yes.
Yeah. No, Ritika, don't worry. You just answer as if you're, seeing a patient in the outpatient. How will you ask for investigations? What investigations would you ask? Not
Yes,
rocket
sir.
science. Yeah.
Sir, I don't know, sir.
You don't know
Hello?
CT scan of this region with the neck to look for lymph node metastasis.
MRI would be
Sir?
preferred.
MR scan to, sort of
Sir,
characterize the
audible?
lesion.
Sir?
I think we had a discussion. MR scan is specific for,
Sir, right.
the soft tissue involvement.
Sir,
For bone involvement, CT scan will be better. And to stage the lymph node of the neck, CT scan will be better.
I can't, sir, audio is breaking, so I can't hear anything, sir.
Okay.
There is a problem with her connection. Ajit,
Okay.
come in.
Ajit,
One of our boys. Ajit, come in and take these questions. Let us move forward quickly. There are
Forward.
many
Yeah,
more
yeah.
questions.
We'll
Yeah.
get OPG, sir, orthopantomogram.
Okay.
yeah.
Then if we are suspecting mandible involvement, we'll get a CT scan, sir.
Sir,
And
if you are
soft
not
tissue-
suspecting mandible involvement, why OPG?
to
And
see
OPG
the-
is done only when if the disease is close to the mandible or abutting the mandible or involving.
or
Otherwise,
sir,
This is in the
for a
tongue.
mobile tongue, without involvement of floor of mouth, you won't need a
Yeah, you don't need the OPG. CT scan of the neck. And as Venkat said, MR scan, because MR is much better in delineating the soft tissue. Yeah. Okay. What would you do? How would you operate if it is a T2N0 squamous cell carcinoma of the tongue? What is
sir,
the surgical management?
hemiglosectomy, sir.
And
We'll do neck dissection, sir. Suprahumoid neck dissection.
Modified radical.
modified radicalizing is
N0 in tongue, I don't know, you may not be familiar. Classical answer is anterolateral neck dissection because level 4 is also removed, unlike suprahumoid neck dissection where level 1, 2 and 3 are only addressed.
Okay, sir.
And hemiglossectomy is used when the whole half of the tongue is removed. For anything less than that, we say partial glossectomy or wide excision.
Wide lobe excision.
Yeah.
And reconstruction as well, sir.
Depends on how much you are going to remove. If the small volume is removed, you don't need a reconstruction.
Reconstruction. Yeah.
Right, sir.
Okay. So good. Next question. Who's volunteering? Anybody? Shall we nominate somebody?
Sneha anta idar nodi.
Sneha? It's a simple
Volunteer.
question. Sneha?
No, this kind of silence is unfortunately disappointing.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್
Please.
ಮಾಡಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದಾರ ಎಲ್ಲಾದ್ರೂ ಅಂತ.
Are you there? Are you not there? Are you just logged in? Can
ನಿಗಾ
one of
ಅಂತ
you?
ಇದಾರೆ.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you,
I would like some Sneha, please. Very good.
Hello, sir.
yeah, good evening, Sneha. This is
Okay.
a very simple
Good evening,
question.
sir.
50-year-old male presents to you with right iliac fossa, pain, and on clinical examination there is guarding and rigidity. Investigation confirmed. Diagnosis. So it is confirmed case of acute appendicitis. Now you are going
Yes.
to take a consent for appendicectomy. What are the things you're going to tell him? How are you going to take a consent? So please tell us.
Just tell us what you will do when the patient has come to you and you diagnosed acute appendicitis. You have to operate. You are going to take the consent. What all you will discuss with the patient?
Sneha?
We have to explain both the procedures, sir. Lap appendicectomy as well as the open procedure.
Before
Correct.
going to
No, are you
procedure
sure that
itself,
this is appendicitis only? In a
diagnosis.
50-year-old person?
Confirmed diagnosis. So that is why. Yeah. So it is confirmed. Okay.
Okay, right.
So you are going to say open and laparoscopic appendicectomy. Okay, right?
Then inform them regarding the possibility of appendicular mass. If it is
You know
a
all this.
mass,
You know all this. Just tell them what are the things you are going to tell them. How are you going to sort of consent them for the surgery?
Look at the question 2, Sneha, you said, right? So if you have that in mind, there are 4 or 5 things that you have to include in your informed consent process. So if you have those, just see how it is, and then you have to say all that to the patient.
Sneha?
yes, sir.
Yeah. So what are the things you're going to tell the patient? Let us say the patient is not decided about surgery. What will you tell him?
If I'm the patient, I
There
will
may
tell
be
I don't want
chance of perforation.
Okay.
If not, when for surgery, there is a chance of perforation, abscess formation, and mass formation.
Correct. So
And
what does the procedure entail? What are the complications of the surgery? These are the things you need to talk about. So how are you going to tell him?
there may be chance of collection, pelvic collection.
See, when you go and take a consent, the form is very clear, no? How it's all very nicely documented. So what are the things you?
I will ask you what are the alternatives. I don't want surgery now. I will ask whether will you recommend any alternatives. What will you tell?
Can manage with the IV and Oshner-Sharon regimes, IV antibiotics.
Yeah, you have to give them the other Oshner's regime is for appendicular mass.
IV and can manage with IV antibiotics.
Yeah, so you have to always tell them whether there are any other alternatives available. If available, if you follow that, what may happen? If you follow that, what are the complications which may happen due to that? Best possible options. Okay, and when you're taking consent, what are the recommended requirements in that process of taking informed consent? How do you take an informed consent?
There should be the diagnosis should be there, and the procedures, all the procedures should be explained.
Correct.
Regarding the lab and the open, then should inform them regarding the bleeding and the infection.
So you inform
and
them about
delayed wound healing and the possibility of incisional hernias.
No, that's what you want to explain what all possible complications can happen in the post-operative period. Then what other parts of the consent? What are the other important parts of the consent? Will you explain only to the patient or with an attender?
To the bystander also, sir. To the attender also.
So make sure there is a witness also. Okay, and make sure they've understood well. You can ask them repeated questions whether they've understood in their own language. Okay, and always give them a time to ask questions.
Okay.
In
Okay.
between, you need to keep on asking them, have you followed and understood the procedure? See, the main components are, one is to explain the diagnosis, explain the options, explain the complications of surgery, explain what are the possibilities other than surgery, and also the complications if they don't get surgery done, especially because you have guarding and rigidity. So there is local peritonitis. So in case they opt for antibiotic therapy, it may not necessarily treat the problem, and it may lead to further problems, complications.
Okay, that
So
is
you,
not you, man. That is for in group.
so you need to explain that, and then in the patient's own words, and you should keep on asking them whether they followed the, whether you have sufficiently clearly explained to them the procedure.
And
So as the
also,
Niranjan said, time taken, you to take time, and if they want some time to think about what they want to do, give them the time. Don't push them or make it very urgent that they have to decide then and there. Give them time so that they can think about the options and then come back to you.
Okay, sir.
and also
Thank you,
it
sir.
can on exploration or laparoscopy, it may turn out to be a different disease than what we have thought clinically. There is a possibility.
Okay, sir.
That must be also told to them.
So
Okay,
I think the answers are there. So basically the common and grave complications of the procedure, give them enough time and make them understand in their own language. So explain to them in their own language. That is very important. So that these are the tenets of informed consent. Okay, right.
Okay, sir.
Well done, Sneha. See, I think you know all the answers. You just need to structure it properly. So think about what you say and structure it properly. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So this is the next question. Who's volunteering for this? Anybody, please volunteer. As you've seen, 4 people, they have not struggled. We have not hit them, or we have not, bashed them up or anything.
We didn't even fail them.
Correct. So another volunteer, please.
Vatsa is it PG? Dr. Vatsa.
Dr. Vatsa.
ರೆಹಾನಾ ಅಂತ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಶ್ರವಣ್ ಯಾರು?
Shravan.
Vanita.
Vanita, you are used to us. You should be able to take this question. Vanita, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Vanita, so we nominate you for this question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 62-year-old male presented with the 8-year history of the swelling in the front of the neck. Investigations revealed a multinodular goiter with euthyroid status. The picture below shows the resected specimen and a preoperative scout film. So, apart from the swelling, what other symptoms would you expect this patient to have? Looking at the size of the swelling, looking at the pre of the scout film of the neck. Anita, start talking. You have 5 minutes to answer all these questions. So you need to be quick. Anita, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, come on. What is this specimen? What are the symptoms that they are likely to have? Look at the neck film. What's happened
Sir,
to
it
the...
seems to be a huge neck swelling, sir.
Correct.
Which
So what are
causes
the
pressure
symptoms?
symptoms.
Correct. What pressure symptoms would you expect?
Patient may have difficulty in breathing.
Yes.
Because of pressure over the trachea, sir, causing scabba trachea.
Yeah.
What is the terminology used for that?
Causing tracheomalacia, sir.
And what is the difficulty in breathing or sound during breathing?
What do you call that?
Stridor.
Stridor. Okay. What other symptoms would you expect? Looking at the size of the swelling. Hello?
Please
Vanita,
note
are you
that in
there?
the exam, you will have 5 minutes to write the answers. So you
Correct.
have to process these questions in your mind, formulate an answer and write it, and you will have 5 minutes for that. Please be mentally prepared for that.
Patient may have hoarseness of voice, sir. Could be due to pressure on the superior laryngeal nerve of external laryngeal nerve, sir.
Not superior.
Superior laryngeal nerve will not get hoarseness of voice. What will happen if you have recurrent
laryngeal nerve.
What happens if you have pressure on this or injury to superior laryngeal nerve? What do you lose? You should be very careful when you are operating. When you operate on singers. So what happens there? You lose the timbre of the voice.
Timbre of voice.
High pitch notes will be difficult.
So, especially in singers, you have to be very careful. So you may have stridor, difficulty in breathing. Can you have difficulty in swallowing?
Yes, sir. Due to pressure on esophagus.
What other structure can it press?
Esophagus, sir.
Esophagus are done, trachea done. Recurrent laryngeal nerve involvement in a non-malignant case is not usual.
Very rare.
Better not
Very
mention
rare.
it.
Yeah.
What else can it press on?
Or if it is malignant,
is it going somewhere inside down?
you are seeing the
retrosternal extension.
Yeah,
What is
that
it
is the
called?
very reason the scout film is given. Yeah.
What is that retrosternal extension called when there is a thyroid swelling?
What goiter? What is it doing? It is plunging goiter.
Yes, sir.
So it can cause pressure over the
What structure?
Vessel.
Which vessel?
which vessel?
Internal carotid artery and
No.
external.
Internal carotid artery is way up. External is way up.
what will be there in the substernal area?
Behind the manubrium sterni.
What vein? It's not artery.
Internal jugular veins.
Innominate vein.
So you can have prominent veins because of the pressure over the innominate vein. See, the
And
thing
can
is,
cause respiratory embarrassment, mediastinal embarrassment.
see, even with the hardest of the tumor, which can infiltrate the carotid, because the pressure in the carotid is 120 millimeters of mercury, you'll not have any problems with that. I think it's the vein that is usually the problem. Okay.
Arteries get displaced, pushed backwards.
Yeah. So what are the problems do you anticipate during surgery in this patient?
So chances of recurrent laryngeal nerve injury will be there, sir.
Yeah.
And chances
It is
of
there
removing
with every
parathyroid.
thyroid
Much
surgery.
more than that.
How will you explain preoperatively to the patient? You will explain to the patient about procedure, about any other additional thing which you will do, which you may do.
The chances of parathyroid removal, accidental parathyroid removal.
Any additional procedure you will explain other than regular hemithyroidectomy or total thyroidectomy?
Correct.
Sorry? Tracheostomy is one thing.
Tracheostomy, sir. Yes.
Somebody has answered. Sternotomy. If it is a large plunging goiter, most of the times you may be able to retrieve it via neck only, but you should have always explained the patient the possibility of a sternotomy.
May not be complete sternotomy, but manubrio sternotomy.
Yeah. Manubrial excision. Yeah.
Manubrio sternotomy. That only the manubrium may need to be opened. It will open up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another
So
problem
what
which
are
is
the-
encountered in this condition is innominate vein is compressed. So what do we expect during the surgery? Bleeding.
You can have significant bleeding because the vein will be stretched like a tape. You won't even recognize it as a vein. So you have to be extremely careful when you are doing the dissection, especially of the plunging area. Okay. So bleeding, if you don't operate on this patient, what are the problems that can happen? Let's say the patient is reluctant to get operated.
Patient's pressure symptoms will increase, sir, causing a scabbard trachea, as I told.
Yeah. So the pressure on the trachea will get worsened and then you will develop tracheomalacia. Okay.
Answers, sir. I think it's 5:55 already.
Yeah.
Answers, we can show the answers.
Don't know why.
Aita?
Can you show the answer, Ravi?
Yeah, I can't, it's not moving.
No, just click on the slide again, then click again, it will come. You probably left the window.
Or press exit, sir. Yeah.
No, go up. You're on to this is the one.
No.
No, this is not the previous one. You have gone several things down. Yeah.
Pressure symptom, dysphagia, stridor, change in voice, pain. These are the questions you have to ask for. Difficult access, bleeding, potential damage to recurrent laryngeal and the parathyroids. Scabbard trachea and post-operative, and bleeding and hypocalcemia and recurrent laryngeal nerve damage. And if you don't operate on this patient, you can get secondary thyrotoxicosis and increased pressure symptoms. Okay. So we have done 5. We could have done a lot more if you had volunteered and, so this is the pattern of, the OSCEs, but at a much, much faster rate. This is, I think we have taken about 55 minutes, 5 questions. We have taken 11 minutes per question on an average. You will have only 5. So you have to, as Dr. Lakshman said, you have to look at the picture, assess the questions, formulate your answers, and then answer all the questions that are there. And that should be done in 5 minutes. So this is how the OSCEs are. So you need to practice this. So, we can have more classes if you want to, but I think that is the main thing. So you have to imagine clinical scenarios and formulate questions yourself and answer them. Only then you will be able to answer it fast. Okay?
Yeah.
So
just to add to what Ravi has said, the answers will have to be like what we have given you the answers. You don't need to write big sentences, bullet points, just numbers, pressure symptoms, dysphagia, stridor, change in voice. That is all you need to answer. And the examiners will have key answers with them. And if you have met 60, 70, 80% of those key words that they are looking for, you will easily get an answer, get a pass. All right?
So I think by and large, because these are objective questions, I think you will have answers. As sir said, there are keys, and you will, if you have written everything, you are likely to get 10 out of 10 for that question. If you have answered all the points, so you can actually do very well if you are prepared for it. So that is why we thought we'll prepare you and introduce you